The Volkswagen Passat is a large family car produced by the German manufacturer Volkswagen since 1973, through 6 design generations. It is positioned between the Volkswagen Golf and the Volkswagen Phaeton in the current Volkswagen lineup, and its derivatives have been badged variously as the Dasher, Santana, Quantum, Magotan, Corsar and Carat. The successive generations of the Passat carry the Volkswagen internal designations B1, B2, etc. In 2008, Volkswagen extended its range with the launch of the Passat CC, a 4-door coupe copyright version of the Passat. Volkswagen currently markets 2 variants of the Passat globally. In January 2011, Volkswagen announced that the new mid-size sedan being built at the Volkswagen Chattanooga assembly plant for the North American market would be named the Passat. Shanghai Volkswagen Automotive also manufactures the Passat NMS in its Nanjing factory. The NMS is not going to be sold outside the North American, South Korean, and Chinese markets. A different P7 Passat model is sold outside of these markets. The Volkswagen Passat NMS won the 2012 Motor Trend Car of the Year. History: following the Volkswagen Group's acquisition of Audi in 1964, Volkswagen used new engineering expertise to develop a modern front-wheel drive car with a water-cooled engine, and thus the Passat and Golf were the first of a new generation of Volkswagen cars. The first Passat was developed partly from the Audi AT/Fox and, until 2005, the two shared a history. During its development phase, the Passat was designated internally as EA400, and well before its launch, production of the Volkswagen Type 3 at the Wolfsburg plant had been stopped in order to free up capacity for the new car. Wolfsburg was able to ramp up production carefully. Directly before Passat production started, the lines were used to assemble small volumes of the car's Audi AT sibling, which had been launched a year earlier. Nameplate etymology: though numerous sources suggest the Passat nameplate derives from the German word for trade wind, reflecting the period in Volkswagen's history when it named its vehicles after prominent winds and currents, the Volkswagen Jetta, Volkswagen Bora, and Volkswagen Sirocco. A 2013 report by former VW advertising copywriter Bertil Schmidt says that after consulting knowledgeable VW sources including Dr. Karl Hahn, former Volkswagen of America chief, and W.P. Schmidt, former sales chief at Volkswagen, no conclusive evidence suggests that Volkswagen employed a naming theme for its then new front-drive, water-cooled vehicles. Nor that the names trace etymologically to any particular theme, nor that any naming system was ever announced either officially or confidentially. B1. The original Volkswagen Passat was launched in 1973. The body types offered originally were 2- and 4-door sedans and similar-looking 3- and 5-door versions. Externally, all 4 shared a modern fastback-style design, styled by the Italian designer Giorgetto Giugiaro. In essence, the first Passat was a fastback version of the mechanically identical Audi AT sedan, introduced a year earlier. A 5-door station wagon estate was introduced in 1974. In Europe, the Passat was equipped with 2 rectangular, 2 round 7-inch, or 4 round 5.5-inch headlights depending on specification. The Passat was one of the most modern European family cars at the time, and was intended as a replacement for the aging Volkswagen Type 3 and Type 4. The Passat originally used the 4-cylinder OHC 1.3AL, and 1.5AL/85 PS, petrol engines also used in the Audi AT, longitudinally mounted with front-wheel drive, in Audi tradition, with either a 4-speed manual transmission or 3-speed automatic. It had a McPherson strut front suspension with a solid axle coil spring set up at the rear. The SOHC 1.5 was enlarged to 1.6L in August 1975 with unchanged power ratings and slightly higher torque ratings. In July 1978 the Passat diesel became available, equipped with the VW Golf S 1.5AAL diesel, followed in February 1979 by the Passat GLI with a fuel-injected version of the 1.6AL engine. The whole range received a facelift in 1977, featuring an interior upgrade and subtly revised styling including repositioned indicators and, depending on model, either 4-round or 2 rectangular headlights. In North America, the car was called the Volkswagen Dasher. The 3- and 5-door hatchback and a station wagon model were launched in North America during the 1974 model year. Sole available engine was a carbureted 1.5 AL inline-4 developing 75 HP in 1975, supplanted from model year 1976 by a Bosch fuel-injected 1.6 AL 478 HP. North American cars were equipped with single DOT standard headlights. In 1978 the Dasher received a facelift along the lines of the European Passat, with quad-sealed beamed headlights and big polyurethane-covered bumpers. The trim was also upgraded and the ride softened. 1979 saw the introduction of the 1.5 AL diesel engine, which produced just 48 PS in the 1,130 kg car. 0–100 km/h time for the diesel was 19.4 seconds, 6.2 seconds slower than the gasoline engine. All gasoline engines were dropped for North America in 1981 in preparation for the next generation. In Brazil, the Passat B1 was produced from June 1974 until 1988. Since the Audi A80 was not marketed in Brazil, the Passat received the Audi's different front-end treatment after a facelift for 1979. Originally with a 1.5-litre engine, during its long life cycle many improvements from the B2 platform were later introduced, like its 1.6 and 1.8-litre engines, a Brazil-specific facelift in 1985, and a 5-speed gearbox. A sports version, named Passat TS 1.6 and later Passat GTS 1.8 was also introduced. B2. The second-generation Volkswagen Passat was launched in 1981. The platform, named B2, was slightly longer and the car's updated styling was instantly recognizable as a Passat, with the most obvious difference being the rectangular headlights. In addition to the Passat hatchbacks and variants, there was also a conventional 3-box saloon, which until the 1985 facelift was sold as the Volkswagen Santana in Europe. In North America, the Passat Santana was sold as the Volkswagen Quantum, available in 3-door hatchback, 4-door sedan, and a wagon model, but the 5-door hatchback was never sold there and the 3-door hatchback was dropped after less than 2 years. The 4-wheel drive Synchro version was introduced in October 1984, initially only with the more powerful 5-cylinder engine. The Santana was also produced in China, Brazil, Mexico and Argentina. In Brazil, the Santana station wagon was sold as the Quantum. The Passat Saloon and Estate were produced in South Africa for their local market until 1987. Like the previous generation, the B2 Passat was mainly sold with 4-cylinder petrol and diesel engines. Unlike its predecessor, however, top-of-the-line versions received 5-cylinder Audi or VW engines of 1.9 2.2 litres. The 5-cylinder version was sold in the US as the Quantum GL5. In addition to 4- and 5-speed manuals and 3-speed automatic gearboxes, the Passat Santana was also available with the VW concern's interesting 4+E transmission. This, also called the Formal E, had a particularly high top gear, which combined with a freewheeling mechanism, provided better gas mileage. An automatic stop-start was also available in some markets. The 4-wheel drive system used in the Passat variant Synchro shared the mechanics of the Audi A80 Quattro and not the Volkswagen Golf Synchro. The Synchro's bottom plate was almost entirely different, requiring a transmission tunnel, a relocated gas tank and no spare tire well. Only the more popular Estate was re-engineered. Synchro was also available in the North American market, only with the 5-cylinder engine. In 1985 the range received a slight facelift, consisting of new, larger bumpers, interior retouches, a new front grille and new tail lights on the hatchback versions. The 2-door hatchback was discontinued while the Santana nameplate was dropped in Europe. The saloon's front end was now the same as the hatchback and Estate. The North American version, still known as the Quantum, gained European-style composite headlamps. On March 31, 1988 production ended with 3,345,248 built in Germany. World production totals amount to at least 4.5 million units. B3 and B4. The third-generation Passat was introduced in March 1988 in Europe, 1990 in North America, and 1995 in South America. The lack of a grille made the car's front-end styling reminiscent of older, rear-engine Volkswagens such as the 411, and also doubled as a modern styling trend. The styling was developed from the 1981 aerodynamic Auto 2000 concept car. At the time it was the first transverse engine layout Passat to be built on a Volkswagen design platform, rather than sharing one with an Audi saloon. The car, although designated B3 in Volkswagen's platform nomenclature, was based largely on the A platform as used for the smaller Golf model, but was stretched in all directions. Many components are shared directly between these vehicles. Only 4-door saloon and 5-door estate versions were available, without the fastback option of previous models. From this generation, the 5-door hatchback version of the first and second generation models is no longer available. It was marketed under the Passat name in all markets. In North America, this was a first. The fuel-injected petrol engines gave better performance and refinement than the carburetor units previously used. They were mounted transversely, and the floorpan was engineered to accept Volkswagen's Synchro four-wheel drive system. Engine options were the 2.0-litre 16-valve engine in the GL model, 1.8-litre engine in the CL model, the 1.88 V112 bhp PB engine from the Golf GT was also used in the Passat GT model. Volkswagen's new 2.8-litre VR6 engine in the GLX GLS model, and the G60 engine. The VR6 engine gave the top-of-the-range Passat a top speed of 224 km per hour. The 1.9-litre diesel engine was also available as an option. 1993 facelift. The B3 Passat was heavily facelifted in 1993 and although it was designated before, it was not an all-new model. The facelift revised external body panels except for the roof and glasshouse, with most obvious exterior change seeing the reintroduction of a grille to match the style of the other same-generation Volkswagen models of the era, such as the Mk3 Golf and Jetta. The interior was mildly updated and included safety equipment such as dual front airbags and seatbelt pretensioners, although the basic dashboard design remained unchanged. The car was available with a turbocharged direct-injection diesel engine, an inline four-cylinder 1.9-litre turbo diesel, generating 210 Nm of torque at 1,900 rpm, 66 kilowatts at 3,750 rpm. It carried a US EPA fuel efficiency rating for the sedan of 45 miles per US gallon highway. Combined with a 98 litres - 28 litres reserve option fuel tank, the B4 TDI wagon had an 1800+ km range on a single tank of fuel. The B4 TDI wagon saw less than 1,000 sales in the US during its 1996 to 1997 lifespan. B5 and B5.5. An all-new Passat, based on the Volkswagen Group B5 platform, was launched in 1996 in Europe, and 1998 in North America. Its Place 45 platform was shared with the first-generation Type 8D Audi A4, which was unveiled 2 years earlier, and saw a return to the Passat sharing its Longitudinal engine layout platform with Audi's equivalent model for the first time since the second-generation Passat, which shared its platform with the second-generation Type 81 Audi 80/Audi 90. The Passat introduced a new design language, first seen on the Concept 1 concept car, for the latest generation of Volkswagens such as the Mk4 Golf, Bora and Polo Mk4. Aerodynamic work gave the B5 Passat a coefficient of drag of 0.27. The car featured a fully independent 4-link front suspension and a semi-independent torsion beam for front-wheel drive models or a fully independent suspension on the 4Motion 4WD models. 4WD was introduced in 1997 as an option for the 1.8, 2.8 V6, 1.9 TDI and 2.5 V6 TDI engines, using a second-generation Torsen T2-based 4WD system to minimize loss of traction. The 1.8-litre petrol engine in the Passat and Audi A4 has a lower oil capacity than transverse applications of the same engine, and may suffer from oil sludge problems as a result, if not changed at regular intervals with fully synthetic oils. 4 transmission options were available: a 5-speed manual transmission, a 6-speed manual transmission, a 4-speed automatic transmission and a 5-speed automatic transmission with Tiptronic. The 1.6 petrol engine had been dropped by 1999, leaving the 1.8 20-valve as the entry-level engine. 2001 Facelift B5 Passat models built after late 2000, also known as B5.5 models, received minor styling and mechanical revisions including revised projector optic headlights, bumpers, tail lights, and chrome trim. The non-turbo 1.8 was discontinued, with an 8-valve 2.0 now being the least powerful petrol engine. A 4.0-litre W8 engine producing 275 PS was introduced in 2001 in a luxury version of the car that included standard 4-motion all-wheel drive. This engine was intended to be a test bed for Volkswagen Group's new W engine technology, which would later make an appearance on the W12 in the Phaeton, Audi A8, and Bentley Continental GT, and the W16 engine in the Bugatti Veyron. The engine was discontinued in 2004. In 2003, a powerful 2.0-litre turbocharged direct-injection diesel engine producing 136 PS was added, longer wheelbase and length than the standard B5 Passat. An updated version called the Passat Lingy was released in 2005. This receives the 2.0-litre, 1.8-litre turbo, and 2.8-litre V6 petrol engines. At the 2009 Shanghai Motor Show, an updated Passat Lingy was shown. B6 and B7. The B6 Passat was first displayed at the Geneva Motor Show in March 2005, and launched in Europe in the summer of 2005. Unlike its predecessor, the B6 Passat no longer shared its platform with Audi's equivalent model. Based on a modified version of the Mk5 Golf's PQ46 platform, the B6 featured a transverse rather than longitudinal engine layout of its predecessor, like the previous B3 and B4 generations, which were related to the A2 platform. The transverse engine layout of the four-wheel drive version, marketed as 4Motion, dictated a switch from the torsion center differential of the B5, to the Holdex traction multi-plate clutch. The change to the Holdex system also changes the handling closer to a front-wheel drive car. Compared to the torsion, the Holdex can direct torque more unequally to the front wheels, thus providing a wider bias range than the 75-25 to 25-75 of the B5 Passat. Holdex is a reactive type system, behaving as a front-wheel drive vehicle until slippage is detected, at which point up to a maximum of 50% of the torque can be transmitted to the rear axle. See the Audi-related Quattro article for more information. Fuel stratified injection is used in nearly every petrol-engined version of the Passat, ranging from 1.6 to 3.6 liters in 11.5 seconds, and 200 km/h for manual transmission versions, but the multi-valve 2.0-liter turbocharged direct-injection diesel is the most sought-after version in Europe and 170 PS variants. In the US market, a 200 PS 2.0-liter turbocharged i4 is the base engine, or a 280 PS 3.6-liter VR6 engine is the upgrade, with 6-speed manual and automatic transmissions. As of the 2009 model year, the VR6 engine and 4Motion option were no longer available in the US on the Passat sedan and wagon, but are available on the Passat CC. In February 2008, the 2.0 FSI was replaced with the new Audi-developed 1.8 TSI engine and 6-speed automatic transmission. The 1.8 T is rated at 160 PS, 250 Nm and reaches 0 100 km/h in 8.6 seconds, reaching a top speed of 220 km/h. At the same time, the 2.0 TDI engine from the Audi range incorporating common rail injection technology superseded the existing 2.0 TDI units. The common rail technology uses less fuel and is quieter in operation. This engine is part of the wider Volkswagen Group policy for engine sharing. The Passat Estate won overall winner of Practical Caravan's Tow Car of the Year Awards 2008 for its array of towing features such as its trailer stability program. In Asia, the PQ46 Passat was released by FAW-VW as the Magotan, after Volkswagen's other joint venture Shanghai Volkswagen had decided to continue using the B5 platform for the Passat and the Passat Lingyu. Since August 2010, the wagon version of Passat B6 will be offered in Asia, which is a fully imported model. But this car is simply called Volkswagen variant in China, in order not to refer the name Passat, or Magotan. Exclusive to Europe and Australia was a limited edition Passat A36, which featured a 3.6-litre V6 engine. This version of the Passat put out 300 HP, and featured dual exhaust tips, an aggressive front bonnet, and all-wheel drive. Passat CC. The CC is a four-door coupe copyright version of the Passat. It debuted at the 2008 North American International Auto Show in Detroit. Originally aimed at competing with the similarly styled Mercedes CLS, the Passat CC intends to be more stylish and luxurious than the previously released Passat B6. In the US, the name Passat was dropped, and the car is being sold as CC. Some options specific to the CC include hands-free parking, lane departure prevention, intelligent cruise control, and adaptive suspension. Engines offered in the CC mirror those of the regular Passat, with options of the base 2.0-litre turbocharged four-cylinder, or the optional 3.6-litre VR6, which includes 4-motion all-wheel drive. The Chinese-made CC was released by FAW-VW on July 15, 2010. Two engine options are provided, 1.8T and 2.0T. Volkswagen facelifted the Passat CC in late 2011 for the 2012 year with styling updates akin to those of the larger Phaeton. For the updated model, Volkswagen has dropped the Passat name for all markets, now matching the Volkswagen CC branding used since 2008 in North America. 2010 facelift. The B6 Passat was facelifted by Klaus Bischoff and Walter de Silva, and was unveiled at the Paris Motor Show in September 2010. Although designated B7, the car is not an all-new model. The facelift resulted in new external body panels except for the roof and glasshouse, with the prominent changes to the grille and headlights. Overall height and width dimensions are unchanged from the B6 Passat, while length increases by 4 mm. New features include a fatigue detection system and an automatic city emergency braking system. It arrived at dealerships in January 2010. The interior featured minor detail changes from the B6, although the basic dashboard design remained unchanged. In India, the B6 version is supposed to be replaced with B7 version. Also, the FAW-VW built Magotan will also be replaced by a long-wheelbase version of the Passat B7. The new model will be exclusive to the Indian market, and at least 100 mm longer than the European B7. The Indian market is also likely to get the B7, which appears to be only a facelift of B6 and not a new platform. In China, the FAW-VW built Magotan will also be replaced by a long-wheelbase version of the Passat B7. The new model will be exclusive to the Chinese market, and at least 100 mm longer than the European B7. Engines available for Magotan B7L are ranging from 1.4T, 1.8T to 2.0T, a special developed EA393.0L VR6 FSI engine is opted for the top model. In Malaysia, Volkswagen Global had authorized DRBHICOM for assembly in the Pekan facility beginning 2011. The Passat has become the best-selling model of Volkswagen Malaysia in 2012 and 2013. The North American market did not receive the B7 version and jumped from the B6 straight to the B8 in 2011. Passat Alltrack. In October 2010, Volkswagen presented at the 2011 Tokyo Motor Show the Passat Alltrack. The Passat Alltrack bridges the gap between the passenger VW range and the SUV range comprising the Tiggan and Touareg. The Passat Alltrack has raised ground clearance from 135 to 165 mm, which improves approach angle from 13.5 to 16 degrees, departure angle from 11.9 to 13.6 degrees and ramp angle from 9.5 to 12.8 degrees when compared to the standard Passat wagon. Passat Alltrack is the only VW in the passenger range to offer 4Motion with off-road driving program. The off-road system works in conjunction with the ABS, electronic differential lock, DSG and hill descent assist system to control the vehicle in an off-road expedition. The engine range of the Passat Alltrack consists of two 2.0 LTDI with outputs of 103 kW per 140 HP and 125 kW per 170 HP and two petrol engines, 1.8L producing 118 kW per 160 HP and 2.0L TSI producing 155 kW per 207 HP. The TDI models come standard with Blue Motion technology packages with stop-start system and battery regeneration mode for recovering braking energy. The two lesser-powered engine variants 2.0 LTDI and 1.8 LTSI are only available in front-wheel drive format with a manual 6-speed transmission. The rest of the range with 4Motion has a 6-speed DSG automated manual transmission, except the 2.0 LTDI with 103 kW per 140 HP has an option of 6-speed manual. In 2012 at the New York Auto Show, VW showed a Passat Alltrack with 2.0 LTDI 125 kW per 170 HP under Alltrack concept nameplate to gauge response for a future market in the off-road wagon segment. DARPA Driverless Edition, a driverless version of the Passat wagon finished second in the 2007 DARPA Urban Challenge. North American model. Known as the new midsize sedan before its unveiling in January 2011, this unique larger model designed specifically for the North American market replaces the B6 Passat sedan and wagon for the 2012 model year in Canada, the United States and Mexico. It is also sold in China alongside the Passat Lingu and Magotan. North American and South Korean models will be built at its Chattanooga assembly plant, while Chinese market versions are built by Ashi Micro AA 1/4, E ±1/2 E1/2 Shanghai VW in 2011. NAIAS 2013, VAG presented a pre-production concept Passat performance with 1.8 TSI. The Volkswagen Passat NMS won the 2012 Motor Trend Car of the Year. The 2013 Passat TDI sets new Guinness World Record for fuel economy under the non-hybrid car category. It achieved a fuel consumption of only 3.02 litre on 100 kilometers. Middle East market. The American version of the 2013 Volkswagen Passat made its way to Middle Eastern markets, namely Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman and United Arab Emirates, by the summer of 2012. The 5-seater sedan is available in 4 trim levels, all with a 170 HP 2.5-litre 5-cylinder engine and an automatic transmission only. References. External links, official website, VW Passat at DMOZ.